Hello, my name is Mackenzie and I'm autistic, and this is my YouTube channel. We talk about a wide array of autistic topics on my channel. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, and share it. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, my link is below. Thank you for watching. Again. Hello, today I want to talk about autism and sensory seekers and sensory avoiders. Now, these two terms that I just said, sensory seekers and sensory avoiders, refer to the sensory processing issues that many autistic people have. And I'm just going to describe sensory processing issues as sensory experiences tend to feel different for autistic people versus a typical person. And it's not just autistic people, people with ADHD and other sensory processing disorders. Things like sounds, visual information, auditory information, that's sound, taste, smell, tactile, and there's two other ones that I can never pronounce that are listed below in the links. But these sensory experiences feel different for those with sensory processing issues. And I define it that way because that when you look it up, it says it very much focuses on overreaction and underreaction to sensory stimulus. And I find this a bit odd because how do you judge if I'm feeling differently when I'm experiencing an auditory experience that I am overreacting to it? Like, I may just genuinely find it distressing, and crying might be an actual reaction to it, you know? So I find that interesting, but I'm just gonna put it out there. Those with sensory processing issues have a different sensory experience than the typical person. Then sensory avoiders versus sensory seekers. Now, sensory avoiders versus sensory seekers. What does this mean? As I said before, it has to do with sensory experience and having a different sensory experience versus the majority of the population. Now, sensory seekers, it's defined as having an underreaction to sensory stimulus. That means not reacting to sounds or taste, like you need more of the stimulus. That's basically what it means. You need more of the stimulus to like function, which can be demonstrated like when somebody with autism needs a lot of noise or needs a lot of light up toys in order to like enjoy the environment around them and be happy, basically. It means your needs for that sensory input are higher than the typical person, and you'll seek more noise if you have a auditory processing issue where you, as stated, they base the definitions on reactions. If you don't react to auditory stimulus and you underreact and you seek out more, it's called sensory seeking. And then sensory avoiding behavior is when, or again, the exact definition is like an overreaction to sensory stimulus. And that means that the person becomes overwhelmed or distressed in certain sensory environments, and you can really tell that they're distressed and they become upset, and they may be displaying some very, what an outsider might describe as disproportionate reaction to the sensory stimulus, like loud noises or certain noises or tastes of certain foods. They might start crying, become overwhelmed, and be very, very upset in response to the sensory stimulus. And that might be because they find it very distressing, and it can indeed feel painful for some autistic people and be distressing and overwhelming. That's why they're reacting that way. So these are two different behaviors, and the mistake is like placing one person in one category and placing another person in firmly this category. Autistic people and those with processing disorders can go in both and display different ones. Hence, the terms like sensory seeking behavior and sensory avoiding behavior. An autistic person can display both of them. I certainly do. So an example here is I really like pacing in the morning and having really loud music blasting in my ears. I will seek out that sensory stimulus, and I will seek out that experience of moving and having one loud noise. I find it relaxing and focusing and helps me concentrate in the morning. But I avoid sensory stimulus such as multiple auditory experiences at once. That means I don't like different noises going on at the same time. It's distressing. And if I stay in an environment where things are happening like that for a long period of time, I am very likely to become overwhelmed, anxious, and upset. Now, these are two very different reactions and to kind of the same stimulus, but I'm displaying both. So I'm just putting it out there that a person that's autistic can display more than one category of these behaviors. So I went over sensory seekers and sensory avoiders and what that meant and tried to go over the context of it. Now, in the past, therapies have basically used positive and like negative conditioning for autistic people to stop overreactions, or what are deemed overreactions and underreactions to sensory experiences like loud noises. Positive and negative reinforcement to stop things like somebody covering their ears because they found the sound distressing and it upset them. That type of thing, using positive and negative reinforcement to make that person stop it, which is not really the best strategy in terms of like the mental well-being of the autistic person. Personally, ignoring certain sensory experiences just makes it build up for me and ends up making me have an episode of crying and meltdown and that type of thing. It's not a particularly good strategy. Luckily, definitely recently, they have been improving in therapies like that and noticing that we have different sensory needs. And there goes over a link below in the bottom that talks about a newer therapy that's like occupational, and I'm forgetting the name right now, but I'll list it below in the description. And it goes over like meeting the child's sensory needs with a sensory diet. And this works obviously with adults too, because you know, us autistic people grow up into adults. So it's listed below, and I really like this direction of this therapy and definitely hope to see more like this. If you liked my content and you'd like to see more, please like, subscribe, and share. I post a video every Saturday, and if you're watching for your loved one, for yourself, or your friend, I welcome feedback. Please tell me anything you'd like me to expand on or any other topics. Just write in the comments below. Hope to see you again next week.